Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults.
And beer.
And beer. Just two crazy Florida men drinking beer and talking about true crime. That's Todd.
And that's Bill.
We haven't done that in a long time.
Right.
And before we get started, we have announcement. Paul,
we have some ado.
Paul has left the show. He was on his National Guard deployment, and I mean I'm not going to get into why, because that's his business. But it involves the military, and his reasoning for. I completely agree with his reasoning for stepping away. And so it's not like we had a beef or anything like that, or it's not even that he's a very busy guy. But it's not even that he was too busy. He loved doing this, but there's just reasons that had to do with the military of why he thought it would be best to step down. So, it was perfect timing because Todd was coming back to the show anyway, and we were going to be a three-piece.
So I'm back.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you missed me or not, but I'm back.
You were missed, but Todd's replacing his replacement.
What a strange world we live in.
Yeah. Now, Paul did tell me that he might be okay with coming on as a guest every now and then, which I'm fine with that too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Anyway.
That's what's going on. That's why. Yeah. But,
that's why things look different.
Yeah. And so, those of you emailing me, it's like, is Todd coming back? There you go.
Here I am.
So, anyway, we got a cult.
Yay, cults.
Yay, cults. This one, it's a nasty one. And this one is pretty much what the cult that I was raised in could have easily turned into if the cult leader if Hobart Freeman hadn't died. So,
all right.
Yeah, so there's just and there's like not a lot of difference. Not a lot of difference. It's just I could easily see, that, what I was raised in turning into that. But thank God it didn't.
Right. Oh shit.
I would have been out of it anyway. I would have moved in with my dad. But this cult was called The Move, a.k.a. the Move of the Spirit or the Movement of God. It's mainly known as the Movement of God, but it's been shortened in a lot of things to The Move. It was a religious fundamentalist cult and a particularly nasty one that started right here in Florida in the 60s by a man named Sam Fife. This was a cult that branched all over the U.S. and beyond, and it's a lesser-known one. There's only a couple podcast episodes about this one. And this one goes from fundy cult and even into troubled teen industry tactics. It was also a faith healing cult, although that wasn't the primary message of it, like another cult that we've covered. But this episode is basically going to be a collection of stories and incidents that happened from the satellite locations of the cult, as well as the cult leader himself. Yeah, it's a bit different from the other cult stories we've done because of the fact that it is all scattered around different stories and everything. I'm covering mainly two or three instances, but if you go looking online, you can find blogs and stuff from many people that were in this cult telling the story. So I'm just focusing on a couple of them, and there were two cult leaders in this one, and neither one of them ever did time. So we don't have anything on legal record about this one either. But still, it's going to be a really interesting episode, believe me.
Okay, I'm ready.
But the way that it's done shows the widespread craziness that was, that this cult was. And if anything, this story plays out similar to how the Jared Fogle episode that we did, where we had two completely different stories going on at the same time that all met up at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting how that episode turned out. But Sam Fife was born September 1st, 1925 in Miami, Florida. There's not a lot of information about his early life, but he did a tour in the Navy where it's required to get tattoos. much like it is now.
Yeah.
He also dabbled as a country music singer, and nothing came of that. Thank God. Well, actually, it might have been cool if he had become a famous country singer.
Well, let's see. He would have been what? Like, that would have been in the 40s or 50s? Yeah, he would have been a good country. It would have been good country, not what they call country today.
And there wouldn't have been a cult.
Yeah, that's true. There is that.
There's no recordings of his songs that I could turn into, badass heavy metal bangers that he would absolutely hate. He studied at a New Orleans Christian university to become a Baptist preacher, but then he switched to charismatic Christianity, which emphasizes the work of the Holy Spirit and the spiritual gifts as everyday parts of life. The branch he used was the charismatic movement, which was the most widely used method. It grew from the Protestants, which it broke away from because there was a growing group of Protestants that believed that speaking in tongues wasn't necessary anymore. So, like in other religions...
Is it even necessary at all?
Yeah, well, it's groups.
Sorry.
Well, so like in any other religion, if you don't like what the majority is teaching, you start your own sect, and that's exactly what Sam Fife did. When he left the Baptist, he started a church in New Orleans, and where he began piecing together his own doctrine based on the charismatic movement. And he later moved back to Miami, where he started a prayer group, which led to the cult. He had 2 wives and 2 daughters, both with his second wife. And there's not much at all about his wives or daughters other than a reference, and we'll cover this later in the episode.
Okay.
With his doctrine complete, he began a wilderness message teaching that, in the early 70s, and he had relocated basically everybody to Alaska, along with thousands of followers located in communes in Alaska and Canada.
Alaska, huh?
Yeah. For basically the same reason that R.G. Stair focused on South Carolina. Because that's where the chosen were going to be safe from Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Although up there in Canada and Alaska makes more sense than fucking South Carolina.
Yeah. It is the last frontier. I wonder if you knew Jewel.
He would develop a strict regimens of beliefs that dealt with purification, which included child labor, neglect, beating, sexual assault, and just literal depravity, all in the name of God and in the name of exorcisms and casting out demons.
Exorcisms, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. There's lots of similarities, not only with the cult that I was raised in, but that Canadian cult, His Rest Christian Fellowship. There's lots of similarities in both of them. Although Faith Assembly was on a much bigger scale than His Rest Christian Fellowship. But y'all dug that episode, so you guys are going to dig this one too.
I hope so.
No, people devoured that episode. That's like I would say in the last 3 months, that's our most listened to episode.
I know.
So people love the cults.
I got to remember not to lean back or I'll fall off the chair.
If you do, I'm not cutting it out.
I know. I wouldn't want you to.
Sources are the documentary People Investigates Cult Season 2, Episode 5, Yahoo Entertainment, and Wiki. And there's actually a couple other sources that I did not put in the notes. Oh well. In his early 30s, he told Lee, his second wife, that God had sent him on a mission to father a future prophet with a woman who had come to him for a faith healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically.
And Lee went along with it.
Of course.
A year later, he returned with no baby prophet, and if I were Lee, I would have made him get tested for syphilis and any other STD that was known at the time.
Yeah, right.
He told everybody that the revelation was a deception of his faith. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, like what I don't.
He's a cult leader.
Yeah, it's just word salad.
He could say, I looked up at the sky, and an orange baseball landed on my head and pancakes for breakfast. And people would be like, oh, that's great.
What does that mean? Who knows? It's deep, though.
We could talk in BTK 363 haikus. At 37 years old, Sam began telling people that he had received a divine revelation from God, and like they all do. And he then declared himself to be a prophet. He sold it so well that his followers believed that he was virtually a god, handpicked by God to lead them and teach them and literally think for them. And of course, this doctrine was an end-of-days doomsday message, and God was picking the people who were worthy of escaping his wrath. They had to love one another and live together in sinless perfection, meaning exactly what I said, sinless. One sin, and you were either out or punished to purify you.
Okay. Now, what defines sin in his mind?
Anything that, just anything that anybody decided was a sin was a sin. Much like Faith Assembly.
Okay. So, never mind. Just go on.
He even acknowledged that the world thought that he was a nut job. To his followers, that validated him even more. It's like, like George Carlin said, it's like, Bob Dole, during that election, came out and said, I am a simple and honest man. Bill Clinton said, I am completely full of shit. And everybody said, well, at least he's honest.
He's honest.
Look at this. Your first episode back, and there's a George Carlin reference.
Yeah. We'll get Star Wars in here somehow.
Yeah. But the doc has something very interesting, and it was a survivor's account. But this survivor was married to the son of Fife's second in command, and we're going to get to her toward the end of the episode. But and I got questions about her. But in 1969, Kara Cobb was 17 years old, living on an army base in Germany. Her father was stationed there, and that's where she met the guy. Her father-in-law, Buddy Cobb, believed that that both he and Fife were hearing from God on all things. Basically, God directed every aspect of their lives, and they didn't breathe unless God told them to.
Oh. Okay.
Can I take one more breath, God? Thanks. 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 Can I take one more breath, God?
Do we have to do this every time? Can't you just go, you can breathe until I tell you to stop?
Yeah. I would not be surprised if that came up in discussion. Well, maybe we should have them ask God for permission to breathe every morning when they wake up.
Man. All right.
It probably didn't, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That might be something that people would be like, all right, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But at least you're honest.
At least you're honest. Oh, dear. Okay, here we go.
Kara and her new husband moved in with Buddy Cobb and his wife Dottie. This was when Fife had relocated back to Florida. And the first time Kara met Fife...
Too cold in Alaska?
Well, they weren't in Alaska yet.
Oh.
But the first time Kara had met Fife, she had come out of the house with a bikini on to go swimming, and Fife's first words to Kara were, "Daughter of Zion, when are you going to put on some clothes?"
Okay.
At least he was, daughter. That's not what I expected. I expected him to call her a harlot or something like that for wearing a bikini.
Yeah, right.
So, but as far as things that cult leaders say, that's pretty tame.
Actually, yeah, it is.
But that was a rare occurrence for Sam Fife. Fife and his wife in Miami started the first official church that was exclusively his. The group started off as a small...
Sorry.
What?
Fife and his wife. It's Dr. Seuss now.
Well, gee, Andy.
God. Jeez, that didn't even occur to me. Oh, geez. Okay. Sorry, that just...
It's hard to believe that there was a cult leader with the last name of Fife.
Yeah.
And that show was it was in, regular syndication at that point.
All right, here we go.
But the group started off as a small prayer group that quickly gained enough followers for it to become a church, and he called it the Miami Revival Center. Not a bad name, not a great one either.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's just kind
Sounds like there's lots of singing and dancing in the aisles.
Probably.
Anyway.
But Fife had bigger visions.
He wanted to be sheriff one day, right?
Drive around with a loaded gun, or a non-loaded gun.
Yeah, an unloaded gun.
But he began traveling the country preaching his doctrine to whoever would listen, and he would leave Buddy Cobb in charge while he was away. His main message was, like I said before, that the apocalypse was near, the end was near, and the only people who would survive were the people that had achieved sinless perfection, which was, of course, impossible. I mean, everybody sins.
Oh, yeah.
Even Sam Fife.
Yeah, that's why I was asking earlier what you...
I think that a cult leader in general is just like, the day that you decide, hey, I'm going to be a cult leader, you're sinning.
Pretty much.
He had a path to salvation. You had to trade in your old life for a life with God. Do that willingly, and you will become a manifested son of God, a chosen one.
Like Anakin?
There it is.
I knew I'd get it there somewhere.
You had to be baptized. You were led into a room where people laid hands on you. You were told to raise your hands and open your mouth, and the Lord would speak through you, as in speaking in tongues. But yeah, you had to separate yourself from the world and literally have nothing to do with anyone, friend or family, or even coworker if it was outside the group. If you were not of the group, you were going to hell, and you would go with these people even just for being associated with them. And if you're thinking, wait, didn't you say they stopped speaking in tongues? Well, the charismatic movement did. Fife used that as a foundation of his doctrine, but he, like every other cult leader, moved the goalpost whenever it suited him.
Well, yeah. I mean, never mind. I don't want to go there. I mean, I'm not going to go there.
We'll start going there.
Well, this just reminds me of like the young Earth creationists and all that shit. That every time they say like, oh, you people say that we evolved from rocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably don't know about. I watch this shit on YouTube all the time because it fascinates me how.
But how could we evolve from rocks?
Well, see, because they think that because us atheists or whatever, they think we believe in the Big Bang Theory and all this, and the universe just happened and the Earth just formed and then rocks formed and then life evolved from rocks. But so they say that as like to put us down. But then you read the Bible, right? Well, God created Adam from the dirt, so how is that not evolving from rocks? Not the same, you know what I mean? And then they change, then they change it. No, that's not what that means. No, that's not what blah blah blah.
Well, then explain it. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
But speaking in tongues is a form of group speak that cults and the stricter fundamentalist churches use as a method of control. If you can get you to, following, if you can get your own following to believe that God is speaking through you by babbling with an occasional hallelujah thrown in there for good measure, you'll believe whatever they want you to.
Yeah.
And speaking in tongues. I don't know if I told you this, but my stepdad told me that before my mom died, she completely renounced everything that Faith Assembly taught, even speaking in tongues. She basically admitted that she had been duped.
All right.
He told me that a couple months ago, and I was just like, holy crap. I wish I had done that before we did episodes 10 and 11.
Right.
but because I'm starting to, I'm being invited on podcasts to talk about it now. So
cool. Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I've already been on one. I've got another one later this month, and yeah,
cool.
Had a feeling it was going to happen. I mean, I remember us talking about that, where it was probably going to happen. Well, it's happening.
Yeah, right on.
And every one of them has video, and that's going to be in the background.
Shameless plugs.
Yep. So, into the 70s, Fife's followers were growing into the thousands, and people were even relocating to Miami to be part of the main church. Is that really why they were relocating to Miami? I mean, it's Miami.
It's Miami.
Yeah.
And English was probably the majority language back then.
Yeah. I was thinking yesterday, there's probably more Cuban Americans in Miami than there is in Cuba.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not Cubans from Cuba.
You can't go anywhere in Miami without having to speak Spanish.
I want a Cuban girlfriend.
Okay.
I do. They're gorgeous.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Into the 70s, Fife's I already said that. But he had satellite locations in Georgia, Texas, Ohio, Massachusetts, Mississippi, and Alaska. In Canada, it was in Ontario, British Columbia. They all had locations as well. And they all had different names. And like I said in episodes 10 and 11, the reason for that is so that if one satellite location went down, it wouldn't be connected to the others. And that was the first thing, other than the faith healing and speaking in tongues, that was the first thing that really struck that really made me link this to Faith Assembly, because it's like, holy crap, that's precisely why Faith Assembly's satellites all had different names. But the teachings all came from the top, but the were given by the leaders of all the satellite locations, much like Faith Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that this was before Faith Assembly. When he was gaining steam, Faith Assembly was just starting. But there were rules about what you could wear, how long your hair could be, how you could dress, how you could relate to a spouse or your kids, and they had lots to say about a woman's place.
Oh boy.
Holidays were a sin, birthdays were a sin, TV, movies, toys, all sins. All worldly things that a chosen one doesn't need. All these satellite locations were run by elders who had been appointed by Fife himself, and basically yes men who would toe the line without question. He had a direct line to Fife, and they taught whatever Fife dreamed up week to week. And that also got me. Huh?
I was just gonna say, I wonder how hard it was to keep up with the changes. I mean, it's like.
The internet didn't exist back then. It all had to be done by phone or telegraph or snail mail.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, all this shit that we've been doing because we just got this letter, well, we're all done. We're all out. It's all changed. Bye.
One survivor who spoke out was Priscilla Roberts, and she lived in Canton, Ohio, and she was 12 when her family joined the move. And their entire family lived in a single community in Canton, and they're a very close-knit family, but her mother was extremely religious. Priscilla, however, was not. She didn't believe the stories in the Bible, and as she got older, that drove a wedge in her and her mother's relationship. Even as a kid, she's thinking for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother started attending the move and dragged her family into it. That sounds familiar.
Right?
Her mother was immediately taken in by this new doctrine, and she would vigorously study the weekly messages, and during the week she would binge tapes, messages from Fife himself on cassette tapes that were available to borrow or buy, and that sounds familiar too.
I was going to say, yeah, this is sounding oddly familiar.
Priscilla's family had a really big house, which her mother let the growing church use. It was it became a secondary location with services during the week where the followers would meet and discuss the messages and pray. She was all in.
All in.
They met in the basement, and Priscilla would listen, and she began processing it, realizing how ridiculous it all was. And there's a reason why I included her story, because she reminds me of myself at the tail end of my story in episodes 10 and 11. And she goes, what she goes through, nothing compared to what I went through is nothing compared to what this girl went through. Believe me, we're.
Right.
She was pushing back really hard, and she wanted nothing to do with any of it. And her parents looked to the elders to help, for help on how to handle her because because her parents weren't disciplinarians. But no worries, the church had plenty of abusers who were more than happy to intervene.
Of course they did, but that's not a sin.
They started off by lecturing her about being a bad kid, and that was evidence that Priscilla had demons, but put a knife in that.
She had demons. Was there a pill you can take for that?
Huh?
She has demons. Was that take a pill for that, or is there a shot you can get?
They believed that any problems that people had were caused by demons, and if you listened to them, you would be possessed. Fife preached that any type of negative behavior and even mental retardation was the result of a demon possession. Okay, demons were everywhere, and that was genuinely what they believed. And they were literally afraid of it because that was a catch-22, because it's a spirit of fear that causes that, which is what?
A demon?
Yep. And the doc, Kara Cobb, says that there was a demon on every doorman. A demon on every doorknob. But what do you do with demons?
Build a bridge out of them?
No, that's witches.
Oh, yes, that's witches.
But demons must be cast out of the body.
Ah, yes.
And how do you do that?
Exercise. You work out. No, exorcism. That's what it is.
You got it.
I knew it was X or something.
I like exercise better. 1 and 2 and 3 and up
demons
and down.
be gone now.
And then the demon's like, all right, I'm out of here. Oh, God.
I didn't know it was going to be so much work. Fuck this. I'm out.
Yeah, fuck this. There's there's that meme that says a priest showed up to my house ready to, cast a demon out. And I'm like, I didn't order an exorcism. And the demon says, I did.
That's fucking great. Even though the demon could just leave on his own. He's like, oh, get me out of here.
Get me the hell out of here.
I'm stuck.
But yeah, we're going to the exorcisms now. There's one woman, Jane Miller, a mother of 6 who had struggled with mental illness. She had been in psychiatric hospitals, but nothing worked. Her family had spent thousands of dollars on doctors and treatments. She would beat her head on the wall. She would threaten to kill her children. She beat herself relentlessly. She had seizures frequently, among other things. Sam Fife heard about Jane and decided that what she needed was a good old-fashioned exorcism.
Yeah.
He told everybody that the Lord led him to Jane.
Okay.
Fife said that when he and several others first approached Jane, the demons were being quiet and pretending that they weren't really there. But as they prayed, the demons took full possession of her and spoke through her. And you can hear Fife speaking and screaming at Jane and speaking in tongues, and Jane as the demon was responding, and she starts screaming too. It's really hard to listen to.
I can imagine.
But I was going to play a clip from it, but it's copyrighted material, and we don't need that, on YouTube.
Yeah, who needs
We
that?
don't need that strike.
We don't want that trouble.
But
we'll first episode back.
Yeah, but we'll link to the audio. I mean, it's an hour and 25 minutes long, and it is honestly, a lot of like you maybe, and probably a lot of our listeners are gonna click that link and be like, I've heard this, because I had heard of it, didn't realize that it was didn't realize it was the cult.
Right on.
But so you can judge its legitimacy for yourself. I mean, I don't know, because I'm thinking that you can't really script that.
No, probably not.
I don't know. I'm really.
I mean, dude, unless they did like a wrestling match, like I'm gonna do this, you do this, and in between we'll just do whatever.
No, but they talk back and forth, like we are, and my shit's scripted.
Well, you know what I mean.
But
anyway.
But feel free to listen to it if you want. And I mean, it's a rough listen, but yeah. But this recording was a badge of honor among the Fife faithful, and
Fife faithful.
They believed that he really did cast Jane's demons out, and Jane actually believed that he did as well.
Okay.
But did that? I mean, there's no word that I could find on whether or not, what her life was after that.
Oh.
Did it fix her mental illness? They don't know.
Who knows? Huh.
But back to Priscilla.
It didn't, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah. But back to Priscilla. Priscilla's mother got a hold of the tape and began playing it at their house at the meetings over and over and over again. And this had a very adverse effect on Priscilla. It scared the crap out of her. She had to sleep with the light on, and it got so seared into her head that she would hear it constantly, and she had to cry herself to sleep.
Oh, damn.
When she was 14, her parents brought her to what she thought was going to be a family get-together at one of the elders' homes. See where that's going?
Unfortunately, I do.
I mean, her mom actually believed that that her being scared by that exorcism meant, was proof that she was possessed by demons.
Yeah. Of course it did.
I mean, it scared, it's very unnerving to listen to, but there were no other young people there. She was then told that an exorcism was going to be performed on her. They made her sit on a chair and they surrounded her. Then the shouting and speaking in tongues began. They were literally screaming an inch away from her ears, shouting for the demons to come out in the name of Jesus. Then they dragged her upstairs. They threw her on the floor. One of the elders said that the Lord had spoken to her. What did God allegedly say? Take a guess. About getting the demons out.
I don't know.
Let the paddling begin.
Let the paddling begin.
God allegedly said that the way to get the demons out would be to paddle her. So they put her face down on the floor. Not a bed, but the floor. Two people held her down, and the others grabbed huge wooden paddles and started beating her all over her body, screaming for the demons to get out. And of course it was, in the name of Jesus.
So it's okay.
Huh?
I said, so it was okay.
Yeah. When it was over, she was severely bruised, probably bleeding. She looked up and she saw her parents just sitting there on the floor watching. They did nothing to help. They just watched their daughter be brutally and viciously assaulted, and they were okay with it because Priscilla was possessed by demons and had to be delivered.
Yeah.
She had to be delivered, all right. She had to be delivered away from them.
I know, right? Where's Children and Family Services when you need them?
Yeah, right? In cult speak, possessed by demons means that she dared to think for herself.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I don't like this. Fife believed that that man is born with a sinful nature, and unless you train your child in the ways of the Lord, the child would go astray. He admitted that he would frequently beat his own daughter with a belt, and he said that it was better for her to have red welts on her rear end than to have scars on her soul.
See, I don't agree with that, but anyway. I guess that's just me.
But that's sound logic, though. I mean, I take everything bad I ever said about this cult. No, I don't.
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
Oh, man. All right.
By now, the church had more satellites in Canada as well as in South America.
Moving on up.
Yeah. I wish Fife had gone to Guyana.
There. What's some Flavor Aid? It's good. It's great. It's good stuff.
It's got a real kick.
Yeah.
A new satellite in Toronto was attended by Richard Kears. His parents had begun taking them there, to the church there. Richard was one of 7 kids, and they had a farm, and they were doing well enough for his mother to be a stay-at-home mom. They were a close-knit family. They were religious, but one summer, Fife came there for a convention, or as Faith Assembly called them, seminars. His parents were taken in by the energy of Fife's worship, as well as the worship service, as well as his message. And the next stop for Fife on the convention tour was Charleston, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah. I wonder if R.G. Stair was there.
I don't know, what year was it?
This would have been the early 70s.
Whoa.
Nah, he wouldn't have been there. He wouldn't have been there. I don't know, he might have. Wait a minute, hold on. Remember, God, that episode was a long time. I think it was like episode 16 or something. But he did.
I've been gone for 6 months.
R.G. Stair did go around, attending like all sorts of church revivals and stuff before he So he may very well have attended one of these conventions. Yeah.
Never know.
I think Fife is worse than R.G. Stare, just because his cult was so widespread, and R.G.'s was just one commune.
Yeah.
But they're both pieces of shit.
Well, yeah. You gotta be.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, it's true.
No, it is true. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
But Richard's dad had followed Fife there from Ohio, just to go to another one of those conventions, and it's like he had a Grateful Dead type following.
Okay.
Some people have called the Deadheads. Some people have called them cultish. Nah,
they're just fucking stoned hippies that like to dance to fucking shitty music because they're so high they can't tell it's shitty.
I want to know where they get the money to travel the country and follow them.
Selling
fish
weed.
As well, huh?
They sell dope.
How did they get it?
They get it. I don't know, dude. I'm not a fucking deadhead. How the fuck do I know?
I should ask Matt from Murder Coaster about that.
Dude, you know what I saw, dude? I was there's a listing on Reverb. It's an amp that Jerry Garcia used in the studio on one overdub on one song. That's the only time he ever used it.
Supposedly.
And somebody's got it, and they're selling it for I forget how much. It's something in the high six figures they're trying to sell it for because it belonged to Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, it was probably some stupid amp like a PV Rage or something like that.
No, it was I forget what it was, but it's been like. But when Jerry got it, he customized it, so it's not. He put like he had it like done with like the fucking what do you call it? The upholstery with the tuck and whatever.
Yeah,
the tuck and roll. So it was like upholstered in white, and he had like a Chrysler car emblem on it and shit. He did stuff to it himself, but it just it's an old amp from like the 60s or something. It's been really fucked up, and it's nowhere near worth what they're.
I will say one thing about Jerry Garcia's sound. He had a great clean sound.
Yeah.
He did have his clean sound was amazing.
That's all he had, though.
Yeah, I know, but still, I mean, there's something you hear one little clink on that, and you'll know that's.
Oh yeah,
Jerry Garcia.
He definitely has an identifiable.
Yeah. But
anyway, we digress.
Hashtag. But Richard's dad came home, and he sat the family down. He said, there's going to be changes in their lives. God had spoken to him. They're going to stop going to the church that they had been going to. Their family had been chosen to God to be chosen by...
Dude, it's got to be me, right? Dude, I make you fucking get all tongue-tied?
Have you listened to any of the episodes with Paul on them?
No.
Some things will never change.
Oh, all right. So, dude, I thought I asked you when I did that guest spot. I thought I asked him if you still stuttered.
Well, I did on that episode too.
Well, yeah, but I was there. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, does he stutter like this all the time? Because he did it all the time with me. And I thought he said no, he's never. But okay, never mind.
I absolutely do.
Okay.
But their entire family,
Actually, that was 3. Oh boy, here we go.
Their family had been hand-chosen by God to be spared from God's wrath when the world ended. And that this group of chosen ones would be at God's right hand as new rulers of the world. I can't help but laugh. It's just why anybody would buy into that. It just does not compute. And I'm a former cult member. It's just,
yeah, I don't know, man. I'm at a loss. It's just.
But if you're a kid in a close-knit family and dad is the smartest man in your world, and when he comes home saying, "Guess what, fam? We're going to be the rulers of the new world where God comes back and ends this sinful world," you're going to be excited as a little kid. You're going to believe him because it's dad.
Well, yeah, you believe your dad.
Yeah, so naturally, all the kids bought in, and they knew the life that they knew had been swept away like garbage in favor of this new life of literal garbage.
Yep.
But then there's that pesky sinless perfection thing.
There's always that.
Yeah. Both of his parents became elders, and Richard and his siblings all became extremely afraid of going to hell because his parents had weaponized everything. Steal a cookie? Hell awaits your soul! Disobeying your parents? You're possessed by demons! These kids are probably walking around on eggshells, which is probably a sin too. Walking on eggshells.
Walking on eggshells,
Yeah. But they tried so hard to be good and do what was right, and that they became robotic and compliant.
Yeah. As you would.
Trigger warning. Like what happens with lots of kids who are forced to grow up in cults, something happened that really threw Richard for a loop and made him start questioning whether this was right or not. He was 11 years old, and it involved his 9-year-old sister. He was at the church, and he happened to walk by a room where the door was cracked open. He looked in, and he saw a couple of teenagers raping his 9-year-old sister.
Ouch.
He didn't know exactly what he had seen, but he knew it was wrong. He told a friend what he had seen, and then word got back to Richard's father, who, like I said, was an elder. They set up a meeting between the families of the men and his sister, and Richard's own father treated the girl, his own daughter, like it was her fault that this had happened to her.
What the fuck?
A 9-year-old. A 9-year-old. She was beaten with a belt as punishment. She was a participant, not a victim. She wanted it and she encouraged it. Nothing happened to the teenage douchebags. Richard, at that point, began questioning God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be questioning his dad said it was, you brought it on your...
Yeah.
And how old was he? He was 12?
Richard was 11. His sister was 9.
11? Okay, well, he ain't old enough to take on his dad yet, but...
No.
Dad gotta go to sleep sometime. You know what I mean, dude?
Yeah.
Fucking dad sleeping, knife to the throat. End of story. And then you go find them other two fucks and beat the shit out of them. Cut their fucking nuts off and make them eat them.
Yep. But this story is not...
This is what God told me to do this.
Hey, if God said that she was a willing participant and she had to be beaten with a belt, who are you to say that God didn't tell me to cut my dad's throat for saying that shit?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes both ways.
Yep.
God. Jesus.
The story was not unique to this one satellite location. It happened everywhere, even at Fife's own home location. Hell, the one in Miami. Hell, this method of dealing with it probably came from Fife himself.
Oh yeah.
Which is why, going back when Kara came out in the bikini and all he said was, "Daughter of Zion, when are you going to put some clothes on?" That's why I said that seemed really tame in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But every time that this happened, it was the girl instigating it, and she was punished. Or in some cases, they deemed it to be God's will that it happened.
Of course.
Either way, nothing was done about it ever. Richard Kears has a book about his time in the cult called "Swindled by Faith: A Time for Reconciliation" that I became aware of as I was doing the research and everything. And I ordered it because I wanted to use it, but because of the U.S. Independence Day, July 4th. It wouldn't be here until Sunday the 7th, which is today, and it came today.
Oh, I don't.
But I'm going to read it, I'm writing my own book, so I want to have Richard on a CKCB Features episode to interview because his story is fascinating, and he played a big part in the People magazine documentary. But I really do. I think an interview with him, I think me and him talking would be freaking intense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, we have a lot in common.
You do. So yeah.
At the end of 1971, Fife announced that God had told him that they had to build a self-sustaining communal farms in remote wilderness areas in Alaska, Canada, and South America. They already had satellite locations in these places. And why? Because the apocalypse was imminent, and the locations were those locations were where God would protect them, and it was going to happen now. Now, the apocalypse is imminent. The end of the world is nigh. Lock up your daughters, hide your wives.
Oh, God. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Yeah. So cultists quit their jobs, they emptied their bank accounts, sold everything, and of course all that money went to Fife to help them build these farms. But
sure it did.
That was just for the materials. The building of these places, literally in the middle of nowhere, was to be done by the cultists, kids included.
Oh, yeah.
If a kid was caught playing during that time, they were given another task to perform.
Okay.
If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Your background in restaurant. Yeah. But if you have time to play, go fetch some more hay. I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Once the communes were established, they came up with their own independent governing systems that worked for them. The elders would take turns to act as sort of an executive officer of the week. But all the decisions of that officer would have to be ratified by a special biweekly meeting by a simple majority in the case of purely internal matters, and 2/3 majority in the case of more public affairs.
Okay. I didn't follow all that. I really didn't.
Imagine that in
But I
a
guess that was
British
the point,
accent.
right?
Imagine that in the British accent. It would take turns to act as a sort of an executive officer of the week. But all decisions of that officer have to be ratified by a special biweekly meeting by a simple majority in the case of purely internal matters, and by 2/3 majority in the case of more public affairs. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
It fit.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that's honestly. I mean, it confused me. I was like, listen to it. I'm like, wait, what? Where's this going? I mean, I don't understand.
I can't believe I got that without even cracking.
No
I can't believe I got through that without even cracking a smile.
I can't believe you said all those words without stuttering.
I had to,
because
I
that
could feel
was
it
a
coming,
lot, dude. Usually that's the kind of stuff. Usually that's the kind of stuff that trips you up.
And then I did it in a British accent.
Yeah. No, I figured when you said imagine a British accent, I knew that's where you were going, and I was trying to remember the part that it was like. You know what I mean?
We were. No, but seriously, each commune had its own set of rules for maintaining the doctrine. The move, pun intended, was hard on everybody, but Priscilla, who was literally still nursing the wounds from her assault, had a really hard time with it. She was basically being shunned, but not allowed to leave. So she was just basically like existing, and everybody ignored her.
Wow.
I thought that they cast the demons out. Yeah, she should be good, right?
She should be, you'd think.
You'd think.
Wow.
One night, she slipped out of her bedroom window and to walk to a place where a friend was going to be meeting her. But her mother had been listening in on the phone conversation, and she was caught and dragged back inside. And, of course, her parents went to the elders.
Oh, yeah.
And hello, TTI.
Let the beatings commence.
Troubled teen industry. As if I couldn't hate these pukes anymore. I mean, she was thrown into a car, driven to an airport. A plane was waiting. She was loaded onto it, and they took off. And they refused to tell her where they were taking her.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound familiar too? That's fucking troubled teen industry bullshit right there. But this is like before TTI became a thing. I mean, it was there were camps already in existence at that point, but not very many. I mean, Synanon had basically just like folded and then started branching out on like multiple locations. This was at the very beginning of it.
All right.
But she was taken from Ohio to a, quote, deliverance farm, which is fundy cult for TTI farm, in Europa, Mississippi. Yeah, and it was just a collection of shitty trailers in the middle of a very rural part of the state. This place was one of several, and it's where the move would send their, quote, troubled souls, or kids who refuse to bow down to their doctrine. Lots of beatings and exorcisms.
Aren't those the same thing in this cult eyes?
Yeah. In TTI, the advertised purpose is to help put these kids back on the right track. On paper.
On paper.
A deliverance farm is a place where kids could get their demons cast out of them. But let's examine this, shall we? This cult's we shall.
Yes.
This cult's supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I've never heard of a cult that had its own concentration camps for people who weren't towing the line. Yeah, that was new to me. I've heard plenty whose entire program is like that.
Right.
But I've never heard of one that had its own separate re-education camp for kids. that was new. That was a new one. But
hey, somebody had to come up with it.
Yeah. John and Bambi. By the way, John and Bambi Henson. No relation to Jem. But okay. They were the couple who ran this particular deliverance.
And her name was Bambi, for real?
Yeah. Wow. But they're big time lapdogs of Sam Fife, who they believed every word that came out of his mouth, and no other words though, because they wouldn't be Fife's words, and therefore a sin.
Yeah.
It's a cult episode. I just realized I hadn't done that yet.
Right on.
Slippage.
Hey, it happens.
But I asked Nora if she had ever heard of John and Bambi Henson. I was just curious, because it's just like, for them to be doing this, I wonder, because like I said, nobody did prison time. Mm-hmm. So I'm like wondering if they got into TTI. She says she might have heard the name, but she wasn't sure.
All right.
But honestly, I hope she hasn't heard of these pukes.
I know. That girl been through enough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Priscilla's parents told John and Bambi, all the bad things about her, some probably made up, and some very likely exaggerated. Yeah, and to one of the things that her mom had said, Priscilla replied, "Bullshit." To which John Henson walked up to her, got right in her face, and said, "You will not talk that way here." fuck off. And
Yeah. Fuck yourself,
her parents
old
just,
man.
yeah, her parents just left her there. Priscilla had to have someone with her all the time because she was considered a flight risk because, remember, she had tried to run away from home. She and other teens weren't allowed to speak to each other because they didn't want the teens reinforcing each other, and that's fucking TTI.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what that is.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. But since this is just a religious cult version of TTI, what happens to Priscilla next shouldn't come as any surprise. And it was happening to others as well, many others. And I'm going to put a call out right now. If you're a survivor of the Move cult, I'd like to have you on an episode of CKCB Features. Yeah, hit me up at ckcbpodcast@gmail.com. Seriously.
Yep.
I'm one of you. I'm a cult survivor myself. If you're new to this, so I'm not a TTI survivor, although I am an ally to the TTI survivors. But kids were tied to their beds at night. They would routinely force kids naked into ice baths. You know, lots of paddlings, lots of beatings, and they liked to do the punishment in the middle of the night so that other kids would wake up to the one being punished screaming from being beaten relentlessly.
Mm.
So what a way to wake up.
Yeah.
You wake up to your to one of your fellow prisoners just being, brutally assaulted.
Well.
But the fact was that this was your existence at these farms. It's not surprising that some of the kids eventually fell into line. And,
no shit.
Yeah, and when they finally were broken, it would be a miracle, and the demons were gone. Yay! Hallelujah! But Priscilla would not be broken.
Good for her.
She focused on her life before she was sent to the farm, before the exorcism, before the cult. Resistance was not futile.
She will not be assimilated.
She will not be assimilated. Put a knife in that. But she did struggle with depression, and how could she not? But once the depression set in, the Hensons noticed. And like in any TTI camp, the Hensons had several kids around that they were little snitches, or pets, ones that behaved themselves, so they were given more privileges. And after 15 months on the farm, they broke Priscilla, and she became one of the pets.
Oh, she got assimilated.
Yeah, they broke her. But it took 15 months, though.
That's a tough bitch, man. Goddamn.
Huh?
So that's a tough bitch, dude. 15 months of that shit before she finally broke.
Yeah. I'll say right now, the ending to her story is satisfying.
I hope so. I really do.
Yeah.
I want it to be.
Yeah, but she's not done going through hell yet, though.
Well, of course not.
But before too long, Priscilla was helping the violent or mentally ill. She was helping with them, helping to subdue them and whatnot. But there weren't just kids there. In 1975, Charlene Hill, a mother of 3 who had been sent there from Miami, Fife's home base, arrived. She had severe mental problems, and she wanted to call her parents, but that was forbidden. Priscilla was told to keep an eye on her, and she had to tie Charlene into bed every night. Charlene, a legal adult, was there against her will, and she was in the cult by herself. It wasn't like she was born into it. She had joined by herself, and then it was cult members that decided that she needed to go to this TTI camp.
Okay.
So she decided to go on a hunger strike. Bambi Henson came up with a way to force feed Charlene.
Uh-oh.
They filled up a bathtub. They held her head underwater for a short period of time, and when they brought her up, she was gasping for air, and Bambi would shove soup into her mouth. And if she tried to spit it out, Bambi would shove her back underneath the water. Priscilla was made to watch this. She didn't participate in this, but she was made to watch. And Charlene could have died from this. I mean, what if she had inhaled a piece of food into her lungs when she was gasping for air?
Yeah.
I mean, finally.
Yeah, murder is a sin, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, drowning someone in a bathtub is okay.
Yeah. That's like a step beyond waterboarding, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a big step.
Yeah. I mean, waterboarding, you're not really at any risk of actually drowning.
Not drowning, but yeah. Fuck me.
So this is worse than waterboarding, and waterboarding has been basically outlawed because of how cruel it is. Because it's torture.
Yeah.
So, but finally, Charlene was able to contact her parents, who immediately came and got her the hell out of there.
Good for her parents.
Yep. They were probably just, like my grandparents were. It's just like, she probably basically disassociated herself with them and everything because that's what God's will, because they wouldn't join the cult too. Once again, sounds very familiar.
Right.
But kidnapping charges were filed against John Henson, and he was taken to trial. During the trial, the defense tried to make the case that Charlene had mental problems and that they needed to be taken care of. It seems to me
that drowning in a bathtub's the way to take care of it.
Yeah, but it seems to me that the strategy that strategy would benefit the prosecution.
Absolutely.
Because where are John's credentials for mental health treatment?
Yeah. Nowhere.
They also tried to say that Charlene was lying about the abuse taking place there. The prosecution was able to get other survivors to testify about the abuse. And in 1977, Henson was convicted of kidnapping, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, where I'm sure that he would have been treated much better than the people who were subjected to in his camp. But the state Supreme Court overturned the conviction, citing a lack of evidence. And unfortunately, that sounds about right for a TTI case.
Yeah, it does. God damn it.
But Priscilla at this point was brainwashed. She was afraid to leave the farm. She was afraid that she would be repossessed by demons. They have broken her, unfortunately, but she is a survivor, and she would eventually remember who she was. But not yet. By now, she had been at the farm for almost 2 years. And we've checked out most of the cult checklist here, but there's one glaring one that we haven't gotten to yet. And I'm sure it's going on all over the entire world with this cult and everything. But we just we don't have every single story. So what have we left off so far? Take a guess.
What have we left off? I'm drawing a blank.
She was told that she had to marry another member of the cult.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. See?
She's 16 at this point, and she didn't want to marry. She didn't think that she was old enough to marry.
But she isn't.
Right? Exactly. But forced marriages, they weren't the norm. They had a whole ritual for couples who wanted to marry. A couple wasn't allowed to hold hands, touch each other, or even be alone together for a year. And at the end of the year, they had to have the marriage approved by the elders, who would have to have prophetic visions showing that the marriage was God's will. That's for couples that wanted to get married.
Okay.
So it had to be ratified by a bi-weekly...
With the 2/3 majority.
Yeah, but they insisted that this arranged marriage was the will of God, and if she disobeyed the will of God, she would what? Take a guess.
Be possessed by demons.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it right.
You got it. Or repossessed.
Dude, that sounds like a movie.
It does. I swear a movie about this cult would...
Well, I'm not even talking about the cult. I'm just like just a straight up like funny like comedy horror film.
Oh, yeah. But
I've been repossessed.
She was still brainwashed, and she agreed. And John Henson performed the ceremony. She didn't want any children with this guy. She wanted to use birth control. So at this point, it's coerced rape. She didn't want to marry the guy in the first place. Now she's saying that no birth control is allowed for...
Because every sperm is sacred.
Sacred. But, she didn't want to be married, but she was forced to. Now she doesn't want to have kids with her rapist, but 9 months later, she has a daughter, which she, of course, fell in love with. And she eventually learned to love her husband. But this guy's not all bad. He was probably coerced into it the same way that she was.
So you got a point there.
Yeah. So
that still doesn't make it right, but
no, it doesn't make it. It doesn't make it right.
I'll think a little bit better of this guy right now.
Well, you'll think a little bit better next. But his brothers had been in the cult, but they had got the hell out, and they were trying to get him out. Priscilla still had a sliver of herself left in her heart, and she knew how the cult treated kids, and she didn't want that for her daughter. They got the hell out of Dodge, and the farther away she got, the farther away they got, the more the real Priscilla came back.
Good.
Yeah. She went to college. She got a medical degree. She works in the mental health field. She took her experience and did something that would actually help others.
Right on.
She treats her patients with kindness and genuine love. And if this horror hadn't happened to her, there'd be one less good mental health doctor in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know what?
Cheers.
Yeah. Applause. And my applause button isn't working. Damn it. That's fine. I'll put it in post.
It's all right. We'll fix it in post.
In the late 70s, most of the followers by now were on the communes. And now we're going to check back in with Richard Kears, who was still a member, but he was trying to make sense of his reality.
All right, then.
He was 15 years old now, 4 years after seeing real demons in action.
Right.
He literally had a demon on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and he, like everybody else, was having problems achieving sinless perfection. And if Fife had said that he or anybody else had achieved it, he or they would be lying, which is a sin.
A sin.
He was in British Columbia in the middle of nowhere, completely cut off from the rest of the world. By now you're thinking, thinking yourself was also a sin.
Right.
And they weren't being taught anything either. Like, education had stopped. Like, the world was going to end, so why did they need to learn anything? I mean, it was work, worship, sleep, day in, day out. And how could you manage to sin in that setting? Well, they made sure that the kids were punished for something regularly.
Right.
And he started wondering, is this how God really wants us to be treated?
He's possessed by demons.
Oh, his exit is satisfying too.
Awesome.
Maybe even more satisfying than Priscilla's.
Right on.
But they're both satisfying. I'm not cheapening Priscilla's exit.
Yes, of course.
But
no, she turned around and
But he also realized that 1975 had come and gone, which is when Fife had said that the world would end. According to Fife, this was founded on loving each other. Now, well, it's not love. It's not Christianity. This is just another fucked up and sadistic cult leader.
Uh-huh.
By that time, after 5 years, Richard had had enough. He decided to kill himself.
Uh-oh.
And by deciding to do that, he knew full well that he was choosing hell. He made a noose, and he hung it up in the rafters of the barn. And when he stepped off the box that he was standing on, his weight hit, and the rafter broke. He survived.
Wow.
He had an epiphany and decided that he didn't want to die, but he couldn't stay there any longer. He was 16 when this happened, and he told his parents that he was leaving the cult. He was struggling with the decision. Yeah, I mean, he wanted to, but he was still like back and forth about it and everything. But his mother made it crystal clear to him when he said, "Hey, I'm out. I'm leaving." She laughed in his face. He looked at her and he says, "Thank you."
That's all I needed.
Yep. Love
Toodles.
this guy.
I'm out the fucking
Toodles.
door.
Toodaloo. See ya.
Oh, good. Oh, my life.
I really want to have this guy on and interview him.
Yeah.
If I can find him, and you know I'll find him. But it was 30 below zero the next morning, and when Richard left, he had a 3-mile hike through the woods and across a frozen river just to get to a deserted highway where like hardly anybody ever went through, just to hopefully hitch a ride. But he was out. He said that there was a couple of times he looked back and he saw the smoke coming up from the chimneys and everything. He could see that in the distance, and it's just like with every step that he made away from that place, he was happier with each step.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. But he got a job, and he was doing fine, but Sam Fife himself showed up at his job and wanted to talk. Sam Fife himself came up from Miami all the way into British Columbia, Canada. Wow. So apparently his leaving sent some shockwaves.
Yeah.
Hobart Freeman I never met Hobart Freeman.
Yeah, right?
I'm glad I didn't. But
wow. All right.
he was put into a van and he was driven back to the commune. Before too long, Fife was trying to brainwash him into submission, and it didn't work. Once they got back to the commune, Richard just walked away again. They let him out, and he just started walking.
Good for him.
Yeah. Although he did return, but he was trying to get people to leave. And he, after that point, he was banned from the property. But his parents
shucks.
Yeah. But his parents...
What, you mean I can't come back here anymore?
Yeah.
Damn.
Gosh darn it.
Wow.
Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it.
What am I going to do? I can't come back to the
here
cult
anymore. Well, I guess you showed me.
Drat. Eh?
Oh,
wait,
curses. Foiled again.
But his parents disowned him for a time, but they sort of reconciled later on. I swear, I've got so much in common with this guy. Richard and Priscilla got out in the late 70s, but the cult was at its peak at that time. Tens of thousands devoted cultists in North America, South America, probably other places too.
Of course.
But on April 26, 1979, that's a very specific date, considering there hasn't been a specific date at all in this episode.
I was just thinking that.
Something bad, if you're a devoted cultist, happened. Sam Fife
got possessed by demons?
No. But Sam Fife and 3 of his elders were flying in a plane over Guatemala. They were probably looking for another spot to put a commune.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was random mechanical failure, divine intervention, or the fog, but the plane crashed and everybody on board was killed.
Yes.
I'll have to add it in post. my sound effects aren't working.
I can't hear him anyway. But
How could this happen to the prophet? The prophet was supposed to live forever.
Well,
the way that it was spun was that Fife had achieved such a level of perfection that he could no longer be on this earth, and that God had taken him.
What about the other two people?
Exactly.
Were they just like what do they call that?
Cannon fodder. Expendable.
Collateral damage.
Yeah.
I mean, like, well, the other two, they ain't quite made it yet, but he has, and so we have this chance, so let's take him. I mean, fuck the other two people. They can go to hell. I don't care. That.
Yeah.
You know, like, seriously, what the fuck?
But it's always something like that when these peaks die unexpectedly. Hobart Freeman of Faith Assembly died of preventable diabetes complications and a nasty case of gangrene because he refused to go to the doctor. And with him, God called his prophet home.
Yeah. Whatever.
Father Yode of the Source, the Source family was essentially the same thing as Fife, but when he crashed his glider, he actually wanted to go to the doctor, but his own followers were so brainwashed that they wouldn't let him go to one.
No, I really want to go to the doctor. No, you don't.
That was episode 100. That was our 100th episode celebration. But,
don't want to go to the doctor. No, what I do, I really, really do.
Yeah. But after Fife died, Buddy Cobb, remember him?
Vaguely.
He took over the leadership of the move, and it's still, the move is still kind of in existence today, and I guess the imminent apocalypse wasn't so imminent after all. Because Fife had predicted that the world would end in 1975, then 1979, and then Cobb predicted 1982. And then Cobb decided that only God would know the true date, but they better be ready.
Well, at least he was smart enough to realize that setting a date is not a good idea.
After he had already done it once.
Yeah, well, okay, I was wrong. I ain't doing it again. You know what I mean? Unlike all these other ones that, the rapture is coming, the rapture is going to be here. Nope, it's like, dude, the rapture is supposed to have happened like what 20 times and it's never happened.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But the numbers began to dwindle, especially when Cobb died in 2017. He just died of old age. But
how old was he?
I'm not sure.
All right,
I mean, he was old. He was old. I mean, he and Fife were pretty close to the same age.
So
Fife was born in like 1925.
You said, right?
25. So
2005, 80. So wait, he died in what?
2017. So he was probably born in like 1935, 1940, something like that.
So he was close to 90.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, hey. I would say he had a good life, but he didn't.
One of the things that Fife said like early on was that if he ever died, that would be the proof that he was a false prophet. Oopsie. But seriously, why would you even say that? You know you're going to die. You know you're full of shit.
Oh, God. Really? So he dies, and do people know that he said that? Like the people in his cult? Then why didn't everybody just go, well, this is all bullshit, and just leave? He said he said if he ever died, it was a false prophet. Well, he's a false prophet. Let's get the fuck up out of here.
Right. Exactly. And he died in 79.
And they just kept going because, he didn't really say that.
God took him.
Yeah.
Because he was so perfect. But
geez.
That's how Cobb spun it.
Yeah.
That's how Cobb spun it.
Yeah, he spun it. Yeah, I know. Because he's like, dude, I have power over all these people. Why am I going to let this go?
Right. And I thought that I had that in my notes, but I guess I didn't. Because it should have happened by now. Unless it happens, I wrote it in somehow later, which we're almost done. But the farms are somewhat active still. I mean, if you want to join,
Why would you?
You could. But although the cult is active, it's a shell of what it once was. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows in the cult. Kara Cobb, Buddy's daughter-in-law, began having problems. In 2009, her husband, the son of Buddy Cobb, began having emotional relationships with other women. And she
Emotional?
didn't like it. Well, I'm sure there was more. But she was told by lots of elders just to be quiet and to know her place.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
She told the Move, their elders, her husband, and Buddy Cobb to fuck off.
Good for her.
She divorced her husband. Her husband was never named. I couldn't find her husband's actual name.
We'll just
sure
call
if I
him
look
Buddy
really
Jr.
hard. Yeah, BJ.
BJ. Is that your name or what you do?
But she left the cult and she never looked back. Now, remember I said at the beginning I have questions
Yes.
about her? All right, that's what we're getting to now. She says that she knows some of the living conditions in some of the farms is disgusting. She says that she doesn't regret her time in the Move, but it's not the same as it was before. You know, I'm not saying that she's a bad person, but does she condone forced marriages, victim blaming, rape, child abuse? Yeah, I don't know what to think about her.
So she's totally guilty of all that. Complacency is guilt.
Yeah, she
It's
she
guilt
got
by
out when
association.
she got out when it was bad for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she says that she's heard about all those abuses and everything and wants those truths to come out. If she knows they're truths, why not come out on her own?
Yeah, exactly. Because she doesn't want to get caught up in it. She doesn't want to be blamed for it.
Yeah.
Because she was, if you're there and witness things happening, you are guilty by association. Mm-hmm. If you see somebody murder somebody else and you're there and you don't do anything about it, you are guilty of murder by association.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that thing was where she says she wants the truths to come out and everything. If she didn't believe them, she wouldn't have called them truths.
I agree.
So, I mean, I'm not one to point fingers at a cult survivor, but I don't really. I mean, she was at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened to her until her husband started becoming unfaithful,
which is a sin.
A sin.
But yeah, no, dude. I mean, yeah, whatever. She survived it. Got out or whatever. But at the same time, though, she's still guilty as hell. You can't. It's hard to be on her side.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and
because
she got out. If she had come out and said, you know what, like my mom,
mm-hmm.
I was duped. If she had come out and said that, I would think completely different about her.
Yeah.
But she didn't say that.
Yeah.
She said, I want these, I would like these truths to be known or whatever.
But did nothing about it.
But did nothing about it.
Yeah.
She could. But then again, the brass of the cult, they're all dead.
Yeah. So
what do you do? But the fact that they're all dead, I mean, shit. Why not come out?
Yeah, why not just why not just say what happened? You make a deal, you get immunity, and just this is what happened.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but dude.
But for a cult for a cult where there wasn't a paper trail, like a definitive story from start to finish, sure did get a hell of a lot of information.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
all right.
That was a really good one. I mean, I just happened to stumble across it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a hell of a lot for listening. We appreciate the hell out of it. It's great to have you back. Back as my only co-host.
Yeah, this wasn't what we planned, but hey.
Yeah, but Yeah, it's great to have you back.
Yeah,
and
it's good to be back.
Yeah, and like, subscribe, share,
All that
rate,
stuff.
review, all that stuff. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Leave us a comment on Apple.
Make sure you hit the dingy thingy on YouTube so you get notified when we put one up.
That too. And if you like us, tell a friend. If you hate us, tell a foe. And until next week, later.
Cheers, everybody.
Go, go, go.